Okay, so this is the assessment of the situation in my variant game against Hellsen. I believe he is AORing it via Twitch streams. The situation is that this is a Scenario 2 baseline game. Historical surprise on. But Japanese can change their plans on December 7th, 1941. The variants, I think, were rules created by Andy Mack, and they are about giving each side the opportunity to change their dispositions and production somewhat to better suit their strategy. We agreed on 310 points for variants, and the Japanese have largely used this to beef up their navy. As you can see, they've really beefed it up. They have... Oh, that's ship availability. That's not what they have at the moment. Okay. So they have 6 CVs, you know, the normal ones you'd expect, but then a whole load of light carriers. 4, 8, like 13. Now these ones aren't, you know, carrying all that much, but still, every bit helps. 48 planes is nothing to sneeze at, and 29 knots is nothing to sneeze at. Also, all the Japanese carriers have been upgraded to the same type, carrying 90 planes each. So that's very powerful. Then in terms of CVEs, nothing so much. Battleships, again, a nice powerful force. 10 battleships, and the Yamato and Musashi are in train. More heavy cruisers than I remember, but this might just be my bad memory, to be honest with you. It has been about 10 or 11 years, 2012, 2013, since I played the game, so it's entirely possible that Japan had this many heavy cruisers. And then a whole load of light cruisers. The destroyers have gotten significant upgrades. You know, and there's a lot more kind of competent, capable destroyers. These are all Akizuki class with good AAA, good troop capacity. Hatsuhara, like Shimakaze class. Again, this seems like a later class that he's brought in. Again, good AAA. And so on and so forth. I don't think there have been any huge changes in these groups. Tankers. There's a lot of underway replenishment. I'm not sure if that's always the way it was or if that's somewhat new. But, you know, in any case, those are some pretty significant changes. And CVLs were created from submarine or aviation support ships, I think, or submarine support ships. I can't remember which. But anyway, so he's done that. Then in terms of the Air Force, what we have is the Tojos, the Ki-44s, have a larger squadron. Yeah, and they're filled out, so they're going to be quite useful. And if we look at the pools, I think he's bought extra zeros, you know, but that's fine. He'll need it to bring the carrier groups up to the numbers that they need, especially if he's only making 56 a month. I expect that'll be significantly increased. In terms of the army, I don't really see any significant changes. So I think he's put a lot of effort into getting planes earlier. Okay, so let's see, Ki-84, that's kind of the key fighter for the Japanese. So he's moved that to the 1st of, so January 44, and then with 60 factories working on it, he clearly is going to hope to get this, January 43 or even earlier. Let me see. Anything else major that leaps out at me? Nothing too useful there. These will be handy for him. Oh, he's got 50 of the Tojo 2 as well. Okay, well, that'll certainly help him. So he's got 50 in squadrons and he's got 100 Tojos in reserve. Okay. And then, yeah, so far so common, really. Okay, so that's what he's doing there. What's he going to do in game? I don't know. He has lots of options. Seemingly he doesn't like losses. But what I also know is that he appears to be very good at openings in terms of min-maxing the opening for himself. So I suppose part of my plan is to prevent him gaining as much of an advantage from the opening as possible by changing or using the variants to change the calculus for the opening as much as possible. With Manila, he knows exactly what's there. He knows exactly what's in the Philippines. He can look at exactly what forts I have, etc. So I've decided to basically seed these phase 1 objectives quite easily. So the Philippines, Borneo, Java, and Malay will all be given over very easily. I've pulled out the American regiments from the Philippines, and I've used them to garrison Attu and Adak Island. I have also put extra garrisons in Hawaii on the basis that he might try and invade that, and I want to dissuade him from that. I haven't reinforced anywhere else really in the Pacific, apart from having 2 tank battalions from the Philippines here, but that's more to shift them to Fiji and then on, into Australia and kind of Burma, etc. But just if they happen to mislead him into thinking I'm really reinforcing this region, then all the better, because really, to be honest with you, everything southwest of a line from Attu to San Diego is completely expendable to me. I prefer not to lose Hawaii. Everything else, including New Zealand and Australia, if I lose them, I lose them. Java, I've pulled most of the troops out already, so he can have that. Manado, I've pulled all of the troops out. There's no point keeping them there as far as I was concerned. I've reduced the defenses in the Philippines down to 431 AV Manila, 27 in Bataan, so 450, 84 there, 530, 660, 770, 900, a little bit more down here. So I can get 1,000 into Manila, and I suppose my thinking was that by creating forts in Manila, putting 1,000 AV in there and sucking as much supply as possible as I could. Manila could hold for quite some time, tie down some forces. In Malaya, I've pulled out the 2 British divisions which were spread throughout Malaya. I've pulled them out and I've used them to garrison Kokonada and Visakhapatnam, because kind of my idea is that if the Japanese are doing well and are pushing hard, Chittagong, Diamond Harbour, Visakhapatnam, Kokonada, Madras are the bases that they most want to land in India. So a division here, a division here, a division here, the guts of a division here. And then, you know, yes, I will need to put some reinforcements into those two. I've also built the forts up here, but we'll get to that later. So this has been very much weakened. Really, the only forces there are 190 AV in this, so about 400 AV in total. And these will be pulling into Singapore, which again has level 6 forts. So that looks quite weak for him, and he should take it quite easily. So I've shown you where the American forces went. I've shown you where the British forces went. Where have the Dutch forces gone? Well, the Dutch forces have all gone to Sumatra, really. So Palembang is guarded by 176 AV, 9 aviation support, and about 33 engineer equivalents, but level 4 forts. I don't have a lot of aviation support there because he can bombard it, and I have a coastal gun battalion there. This will be, I think, in the long run, my main base. It's inland, it can be expanded significantly, and I've put enough troops there to hold it against paradrop. Same here, same here, same here. Enough troops to hold against parachute invasion. So, Osthaven. So what do we have here? Well, 427 AV in a clear hex behind level 6 forts. That should yield roughly the same combat power as Palembang, because Palembang has a by 3 modifier for swamps. A good bit more aviation support there, and good engineers, because I want to build up the ports a little bit, and I want to build more fortifications. Some of those engineers will be moving to Brabomole. Can't pronounce that. Now, what have I done as well? Well, I've moved Australian coastal defence artillery and some AA to Cocos Island, and my plan will be to bring forces from India, a brigade at least anyway, up to here. Or from India, from Australia, obviously, to here. What's the plan? Well, the plan is to have the Dutch defend this region of Sumatra, Jambi to Bencoolen, and then pull or fly and transport by sea the troops from these outlying bases, and also Java. Going to let that fall, you know, very, very cheaply, but fly them and base them in this region here. The Australians will come up to Cocos and then land here and march to where they are needed. I will clearly be expanding this base, particularly the port, and I will be putting some troops here for this to act as a kind of a midway point where I can have some cap. So you might ask yourself, well, how on earth are you going to unload lots of things in a level 1 port? And why wouldn't you use here? Well, I don't want to use here because it's so open to surface raiding from Java, etc. And what will I do in terms of the unloading? Well, what I'm going to do in terms of the unloading is... Oh no, it's the Kavit base force, isn't it? Yeah. 200 naval support. And they're Asiatic fleet, so they can be flown out. I'll get the naval support, the aviation support, the machine guns and the sound detector out. The rest can stay there to be destroyed. You might say to yourself, well, that's a really long way. How are you going to get them out? You know, ships won't make it. Okay. It is 38 hexes from Manila to Palembang. The PBY-4 has a range of 76 hexes, which gives you half the range for transport, which is 38 hexes. So it's nice when the plan comes together. So basically I can fly everything from Manila out to Palembang, and from there it can march over, you know, relatively good roads to here, and then it can, you know, make this what will be a port, a level 4 port, make it function like a level 7 or 8 port. And that will be, you know, quite a powerful way to get significant reinforcements in without risking them to surface action. Plus, if he does come in there, well, you know, this trip back to Batavia is going to be very fraught in terms of exposure to dive bombers and torpedo bombers. Now, so that's the Australians and so on. In terms of China, I have pulled some formations out which I purchased with variant points, and I've put them in Rangoon, Pegu and Moulmein. I've also got some here. Hopefully this looks like I'm either expecting an attack up this route or I'm planning to attack down this route. I'm very aware that Hellsen is going to be able to see these dispositions and look at them. And so I was very aware that I had to create a defensive plan which looked to be one thing but would turn out to be another. So obviously, you know, he can see that I've denuded the Philippines, I've denuded Malaya, I've reinforced southern Sumatra. But there are some surprises and I'll get to them. I've also left Ankang utterly unreinforced in terms of fortifications or troops. This seems to be one of the preferred routes for the Japanese tank formations to advance and move into there we go, and move into kind of the Chongqing plain. So since that's something he will probably try to do, I thought to turn that into a trap. Now, there are other ways he can go, but I really would prefer him to go this way. So the other ways I've left quite heavily defended, whereas this is just really open, just begging for him to move up here, cut off all of this, and then move in. So what is my plan for China? Well, I'm going to bring these forces here and put them in Wenchao with lots and lots of supplies and just use that to harass him. The nice thing about that is that it is within flight range of some of the Burmese bases. So I will be able to get some bombers, etc. in directly from Burma, but I'll certainly be able to get a whole load more in from Chongqing. And, you know, it's astride his sea lines of communication, so that's a nice striking point / annoyance, should divert quite a few troops. The rest then is going to go into, initially anyway, a nice little defensive line. And then I'm going to pull back from here and create a defensive line again. Really just making him see that the Yankang route is very useful. What I'll be doing then is I'll be concentrating my anti-tank regiments, the 2 of them that I have, and my artillery. I'll be concentrating them on this route. I'll throw in some Chinese corps, and then the plan is as well, using the rail lines and the road lines, to bring some tank formations from Burma, well, India, then to Burma, and then across to here. And hopefully with those tank formations, that'll be enough to stymie the advance up this route. So, the Chinese forces then. Okay. So what I've got is, I have 4 separate brigades and then 3 Chinese corps. These corps increase to 162 or 729 squads. They will take about, these big ones will take about 2 months of all the Chinese replacements, but that's where I'm going to put them because it's very easy for me to supply. So by the time they're done, these 2 should be 730 each. This should be 160. That's about, 1460 plus 160, so about 1600. And then these will expand to 81, so by 300. So we're talking about 2000 AV. Here you've got slightly less, but you again still should have 730, 730 and 160. So, 1500-ish AV, and then the exact same here again. Now, that looks very defensive, especially when you consider that I've got more forces here, 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 and that I've also got a brigade on the way for Colombo and a brigade on the way from Trincomalee. So really, if he starts doing recon in the game, or even, prior to the game, this will look like I'm setting up for an invasion of India. Now, what am I actually doing? Well, what I'm actually doing is very different. In the same way as here in Ankang, my weakness is actually a trap. I want him to think that Burma's too tough to land in, so he should just bypass it, come up here, cut Burma off, let it wither on the vine, along with China, and aim to take India. What I'm going to be doing instead is, I'm going to take the 4 air landing brigades, and I'm going to use patrol boats to fly them, and, transports to fly them to Port Blair, Car Nicobar, and Great Nicobar. I just want, one of the brigades, 80 AV on each, and once they're there, to prevent them being taken by, para-landing, I can shift engineer units, etc. from Colombo on down. Okay, so then we come to the Northern Sumatra plan. So my idea with Northern Sumatra is, again, from Moulmein or Rangoon, let's pick Pegu, it's even a worse situation, 26 hexes. So 26 hexes means that even my Catalina 5s can do it, PBY 5s. So essentially, pretty much, all of the floatplanes that I have can do 27 or more hexes. And that very comfortably takes us to here. So, these 5 bases are all going to be reinforced again by Chinese units. So there's going to be 3 air landing brigades that are utilized, and then I'm going to use the 3 corps, 3 of the large corps, 1, 2, 3. This can be another air landing brigade, and this can be another corps. So that will essentially mean that of the troops in Rangoon, these 4 brigades will be utilized for Port Blair, this island and this island, as well as maybe Sebulga. Then 3 large Chinese corps going up to 720-ish infantry will be here, Medan and Langsa, and then a smaller one here. Eventually I will bring in some engineers from the British and park them here along with maybe a battalion to prevent air assault. Again, I can get ships to here. I can cover them with some cap once I build a level 1 airfield, and then it is only 4 hexes, which even 10 knot XAKLs can do, into Sebulga. And then from Sebulga, it's not great, but usable roads to get across here, and then up and down the coast. Once I'm here, I've got a rail line. Now, obviously, this is a backup. If I can, I'll land them at Sabang and then just rail them down wherever I want them to go. But key points are that in terms of how this looks, I've got 210 oil, 200 refinery, and 20 resources. That's guaranteed supply. Can he destroy that supply? Of course he can. But if he destroys that supply, it means destroying his own oil and refineries. So, if he wants to do that, he's welcome to do it. If he does attack, again, I can withdraw and I can fast transport out and fly out troops. I can pull back to Sebulga and I can move troops to Sinabang and then under cover of aircraft carrier pull them out. So what I'm committing here, I don't necessarily need to lose. If he's going for India, a conservative player is not going to want to leave these air bases astride his lines of supply. He also isn't going to want to leave Singapore open to easy bombing. So he'll either reduce them with a major air campaign or he'll land troops and take them. If he does the troops, well, every day they're fighting here is a day that India is being reinforced and growing stronger. Even if he does take this, he then has these 3 bases to hit on the way through to Ceylon, or even on the way up to Rangoon. If he does decide to go to Rangoon, these are astride his lines of supply, and I will use them mercilessly to stage surface combat task forces and planes. So what we're really looking at is the idea that Hellsen has min-maxed his play for the Philippines and the DEI. So I'm really not going to hold these in the way that people normally do. I'm going to withdraw to Manila as quickly as possible, just hold up. I'm going to air transport out everything I can here. I'm going to air transport and ship out everything I can here into Oosthaven. I'm going to abandon Borneo as rapidly as I can. I'm going to evacuate from Singapore up into northern Sumatra. And basically the British, the Chinese from Burma, and Indian formations will push into Sumatra and try to make a stand there. Even with the forces I'm going to deploy in Sumatra, about half of the Chinese that I moved here in ostensibly defensive positions will still be available here. So this will still be a strong, counter-landing force. So, this is weak, but is a trap. This has been unchanged, but I expect it to form one of the main bastions of my defense. This is completely unchanged and looks very weak, but again, I expect it to form the main bastion of my defense. I brought 1 infantry battalion from somewhere, I don't even know where it came from. And my hope is that between the southern Sumatra fortress region and the northern Sumatra fortress region, I'll be able to hold him, threaten Singers, and prevent him pushing into India quickly. Do I expect these to hold forever? Probably not, but, you know, I'll try. There's no harm in trying. I've got Cocos and Gano here, or Ngano to here, for sea resupply. And I've got Ceylon to Sabang via Great Nicobar, or to Sinabang and then Sibolga for reinforcements. I think that's pretty solid. And that's basically my defensive plan here. Once things really get going, I'll look at going on the offensive. But for right now, it's 2 fortress regions, threat to his sea lines of communications on the flank if he goes for Rangoon, or behind him if he goes for Ceylon. I really want to convince him that any ships that he has damaged, etc., or anything he can't cover with KB will just be destroyed. Now, obviously the counter to this is to either come through here or to just route the entire invasion convoy this way and bring it up. Yes, I'll see it coming, but you know, with all the carriers he has, not really sure that matters. What am I doing to defend Australia? I'll build up some defensive positions, some fortifications, etc., but not a huge amount. Most of what I can free from Australia is going to go into the southern Sumatran defensive line, as well whatever I can still fly out from the Philippines, mostly engineers and HQ units. The HQ units and whatever else I can ship out from here will go into northern Sumatra. The Chinese will kind of create the crescent of defense running from here all the way up to Port Blair, and then the Brits and the Indians will send reinforcements in as they bear. So that's the plan there. Here, the plan really is to solidify, build up and bring the 2nd USMC Parachute Battalion up, and then from there land at Onekotanjima. And once I land there, that's a threat he has to take seriously, and that will either draw in his surface combatant forces or KB or mini KB, you know, whichever. Doesn't really matter. The whole point is not necessarily to hold it, but to draw forces off, and in particular require, you know, a brigade to garrison each of these. And a brigade garrisoning each of these is about 2 divisions. So that's a lovely waste of resources to draw him into. Down here, there will be very little real resistance. I will mount some raiding TFs and things like this, and I'll put enough in that it doesn't look so obvious that I'm ceding this area to him. But to be honest, I will be ceding this area to him. What am I doing in terms of my carriers? Well, they are here and here, and they are going to loop down this way to see if he's being really ambitious in the Pago Pago, Fiji, New Caledonia region, and strike there. If they get there quickly enough, I'll loop them up by Horn Island, refuel them, you know, on the way. If I'm still holding Surabaya, wonderful, definitely refuel them there. But otherwise, just, you know, to Cocos Island and refuel them up here, and then use them to cover resupply convoys and troop convoys into the northern and southern Sumatran fortress regions. In terms of how I'm going to get forces across, I expect there to be some deep raiding, so I'm just going to avoid that entirely. I'm going to take the forces from San Diego, ship them through Panama, and get them all the way out to either Cape Town or in the fullness of time Aden, but generally speaking Cape Town. And then from Cape Town it's a nice run to Diego Garcia, put a good bit of air cover there just to make sure that I can keep prowling Japanese forces away. If I spot prowlers, they run straight up here. I'll defend these bases with better airfields, which will provide cover. And if there is no sign of KB, my carriers will come out and escort them either to Cocos and then in, or straight down, to Sabang or Sabulga. And that's the plan. I have 2 carriers at sea. I have 1 in port in San Diego, which is also going to probably do the Pacific journey across. And then I managed to get myself 4 upgrades from AVs, I think it is. Now, they don't have air wings on them at present, but the plan is to build those air wings out. And in fact, for the CVLs, I only want to really use them for fighters. Put 33 to 36 fighters on each, I'll be happy. Between the 4 of them, 4 by, call it 35, keep the math simple, that is 140 fighters. That's a nice force. Don't have any CVEs, made no changes to the battleships, made no changes to anything else. I think that's probably going to really confuse Hellsen, because I think once he takes these easier than he expects, leveraging the perfect intel he has, he's then going to be left with coming up with a plan on the fly and adapting to an unusual defensive play. And then we'll see what he's really made of. It's very easy to advance quickly when you've got perfect intel and the initiative. It's a lot more difficult to adapt to someone who's doing something you probably haven't seen before. Where did I spend my other points? Well, I mainly spent them in, there we go, in the pool, where I got 50 P-38Es in the pool, and with the ones on map, there's about 50 or 60 on map. That'll give me enough to put cap over really, really important spots for myself. The other thing that I've done is I have increased production of the P-40. I was getting 35. I've now created 2 on-map factories for another 60, so that's 95. I was getting 8 Wildcats. I'm now going to get 93 a month. I think that'll be very helpful, and particularly when the F4, F3 upgrades the F4, F4, I'll be getting another like 37 a month. So I'll go from like 93 to about 120, 130 a month. But for right now, 90 plus 95, that's 185 of those fighters. The PBY-4, none were in production, but I got 12 because I like the 38 hex transport range. I find that very useful. The Catalinas, I'm going to make them just as normal, 17. They'll be my search planes. These will be my transport planes. Long range anyway, because they carry 2,000 pounds payload. These carry 4,000. So at short range, these are better. But, being able to reach out to 38 hexes just puts a lot more of the DEI into my reach when I deploy paratroops into it. And also, up in the northern areas. Now then, I think also, here it is, the Hurricane 2B. I was going to get 16 a month, now I'm going to get 61 a month. And the whole idea here is to basically give the British 60-some planes a month that they can, lose, and give the American Navy and Air Force about 100 planes each that will be, attritable per month. Between them, I expect to have about 300 fighters that I can use and lose per month, and I'm going to use that to create attrition. In terms of bombers, well, basically every bomber I can get is going to be based in southern India and is going to be flying supplies into the Chongqing area for the Chinese. If the Chinese can be supplied, they become very powerful. If they can't be supplied, they are a massive drain on my resources. This will mean that my B-17s, my B-24s, my B-18s, my Hellsens will all be going there. You'll also see types that you don't normally see flying there. The Wirraways are actually, with a range of 7 hexes, are actually able to do some flying and will be, flying to Paoshan, where they will be dropping off supplies. I will be using everything to get supplies there. I will also, once I'm able to organize it, be shipping lots of supply to Rangoon while he's occupied with the DEI. And then once, planes become more available to cover this region, I will be using carrier cover to ship supplies into Rangoon. If I drop 250,000 tons into Rangoon, an awful lot of that will go into China, where it can do an awful lot of good. So that's going to be one of my goals. Just ship supplies into Rangoon and accept losses to do it. The Chinese fighter force is going to be pulled out, as will their bomber force. And the bombers are going to be used to fly supply into China. And the fighters will be set up for, rear area cap. Obviously, whenever I'm bringing supplies into one of these bases, I'll be transferring fighter cap to that base and inviting him to attack. If he attacks, he'll sink some ships, but he'll lose lots of good pilots. If he doesn't attack, the ships unload. Either way, he loses. Let me see. Is there anything else? No, I think that's it. That's basically the plan. So we should see him make very rapid progress in Malaya, Borneo, Java, and the whole southern DEI. And then we should see him hit a brick wall in the Palembang area, southern Sumatra area. And we should see him uncover something he wasn't expecting in northern Sumatra. See what he makes of the Andaman Islands. And he knows about these Chinese forces in Rangoon, but he doesn't know they'll be transferred there. In China, the big gambit is Ankang. Hopefully he falls for the trap. If he doesn't, fine. But if he does, then I've got good terrain, good anti-tank guns, and I can really focus a lot on stopping him there. He'll probably be overconfident and overcommit to that. I can launch distractions into this region whenever suits me. And then in the Pacific, we'll just see how good I am with fast transport task forces and aerial transport. Oh, the other thing I'm going to do, because fast transport task forces are going to be so important, I'm going to be trying very hard to save all of the Hellsen class destroyers, because I want to transform them into fast transports. I count something like 20 of them. 20 of them will move an entire brigade plus in one task force. They'll move very rapidly, and they'll enable me, from carrier cover to get in and out pretty quickly. So I'm going to sacrifice about 20 of my starting destroyers for that. And then that is basically the plan. Bombers to fly supply into China until I find, reasonable targets for them. Fighters to set up lots of caps covering convoys in Rangoon, northern and southern Sumatra. Everything else, to die rapidly, unfortunately, and then not to hold Numia, Fiji and Pago Pago at all costs, but to increase the costs of him taking them and scare him a little by putting my carriers there. It'll delay him, it'll force us to be redeployed, it's all good. And then everything to India via the Panama Canal. And that is basically, it. So that's the basic plan. I don't know. It depends on how much Hellsen has figured out about me, whether he will expect something unconventional and whether he realizes that from my point of view the game has already begun, and the first portion of the Maskarovka that I am employing in this situation has occurred in the setup. I've created weakness where I want him to go, and I've created, defenses which are obvious, but prepped for others which are completely, I think, to him not obvious. I don't think he'll be expecting this crescent to become a hive of Chinese troops. And me running transports into Sabolga and Benkolen. I just don't think he'll be expecting that. This Cocos Island for search planes to spot KB coming out of Java, that's, I think, pretty basic and common. So he won't probably see that this is actually setting me up for, quick transport runs in here. We'll see how well he adapts. My read is of a min-maxer who'll do very good at the beginning, but probably won't be as strong adapting later on. And as I play him, I'll get more of a read and figure out how to adapt my current concept of operations to him. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. Hellsen said that he will get the churn to me kind of by the end of this week. So hopefully when that happens, there will be an update. And either way, I hope we just have fun. And good luck to Hellsen if he wins. Well, the better man won, and good luck to him. Most importantly, hopefully we both just have a good game and we enjoy ourselves. Okay, take care guys. Bye bye.